Welcome home, all. It is Friday night, and it is cheap date night. It's time for cheap date night. So officially, it is cheap date night with SuperMex and Tristen. So you got anything you got a handle we're gonna call you? Just go with the name.
We're gonna go with Tristen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Tris.
We could do Tris.
It's up to you. Your call.
Tris.
Whatever goes on the official.
It's shorter, right?
Yeah. So whatever goes on the official, that's it. So cheap date night with SuperMex and Tris, and we've had one show together. So still learning a little bit, but as we did talk a little bit earlier on the phone, and so again, some things that are like functional and by design. I don't want to say scripted. I don't like the term, I guess. But things that will take place because that's the nature of the show, the whole point for it. But then also the interest and intrigue of not knowing everything that you're thinking at the time before we do it, right?
Yeah.
And I want to continue to keep that, make sure that we're never not doing that. I don't want it to be, for you guys anyway, I don't want it to be an old thing where we're just getting on and rehashing a lot of the same old stuff, because we're two different people, live two different lives, grew up two different ways, I'm sure, and we have some commonalities, but definitely want to flesh that out for audience so that they know where we're coming from.
Yeah.
And before we go too far into the show and we get started on our format, just to let you guys all know, Tristen will be ongoing and regular co-host with me going forward on Cheap Date Night at the least, if not doing some of her own things too. So, and do and watch, follow whatever it is that she chooses to do, because if you're my audience, you're now her audience too. Everybody got that? See how that works? It's one big team, one big unit. I'm an old military guy. So going forward, this is the way it's going to be from now on. Not to say that it precludes us from talking to other people or having, guests, etc. But, you and I are going to get our format down so we're good for our audience and everybody learn a little bit. I did mention to you that, I still look at it as this is educational. We're going to talk movies, music, and TV. And we're going to inform you guys as to what we're up to, what we're watching, listening to, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
maybe the good thing would be maybe we get to a point where we warn people away from spending money on a bad movie.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Or
I'll
not
go
worth
watch
the time.
it first.
No, absolutely. We'll do the dirty work.
Yeah.
We'll do the dirty work for you. Okay, so let's do this before we get into the meat and potatoes of the program. So we got one show under the belt.
Yeah.
Give me something from last week that. Nothing bad. None of the bad stuff, right? Well, it's all on air anyway, but give me something from last week that maybe you took into the weekend as like, okay, yeah, that's cool, that's different, maybe I'll do that, or, that you learned or not learned from what we did on the Friday of last week.
I think the thing that definitely stuck with me was watching the Marvel
Oh, really?
series,
The
in
whole
the
thing?
orders. I kind of did a little bit of research and see what people prefer as far as the order goes, because I know you said you can go and based on the time period or when the movies were released.
Yeah.
So I kind of did my own little research to see where I should start. I know it's going to take me some time, but that's what kind of stuck with me. Only because I'm not a big fan of Marvel, but I'm like, I want to do this. I'm taking on this little marathon.
Right. I will. And here's the other thing. I like. I'm always honest and straight. Not a lot of Mickey Mouse in the gaming, but when it comes to like Marvel and comics and superheroes and stuff, I won't say, because I'll get eat up online, that women, ladies, females, girls are not as into Marvel. I don't want to say that specifically, but it's a numbers game too. It's a numbers thing. Generally, little boys, grow up with comics or superheroes and stuff, and then so Marvel plays on that. I know I've done a lot of research and work on knowing the disposable incomes of subgroups within the larger. The most disposable dollar in our society is young males in their teens and 20s. Okay. Just spending money, just throwing money out there, right? So a lot of marketing is based, at that group because they spend. They just here, yeah, I'm gonna go do that, right? And so Marvel knows that, and they've always known that. And so if you can have that as a base, now you can go out and get more. And so you do things like have good female characters, strong, cool, good-looking, intelligent females that you or others like you, ladies, can resonate or feel some empathy towards, some akin to, and so that it's good marketing, because that's, if you get a bunch of young dudes that age group and they spend a lot of dollars on you. By the way, millennials, that generation is bigger than all of them, in terms of population. But if they get girls and young women too, It's a killer
Okay,
strategy in
yeah.
terms of cost. So anyway, so that was yeah, that's good though. That's because it was
That was the
work, man.
one.
It was work. It took me I didn't count days, but it took me a few weeks.
Yeah.
Trying to do one a day, it's
It's
not
definitely
easy.
going to take me some time, but I kind of wanted to decide which route I was going to take.
So what are you going to do for the audience?
I think I'm going to do by like the date, the era.
Okay, so
Not when,
chronologically.
yeah, chronologically,
So
not when they were released.
right. I think and I'll do this here. The only hiccup that I think I had with the chronological ordering was when I got to, and I have this here, when I got to Black Widow. Okay, with Scarlett Johansson, right?
Okay.
So that was not released just this year. Chronologically, it's kind of weird where it ends up overall because that was released this year, and Infinity War and Avengers too. When you get to that window, because that's almost toward the end of all of the movies.
Okay.
It's like 18 or 19, I want to say. Don't quote me, but it did kind of throw me off, like, because I know in my head what she's doing in the Marvel Universe and where she's at in time and place. And then Black Widow came on, and that was just recently released in relation to the whole.
Okay.
That's the only thing that would be a hiccup. But, I'm glad you're doing that way. I still prefer that to the order of release.
Cool.
Because I did kind of watch I think I watched every single one of them. There was maybe two that I didn't watch in theater as they were released.
Okay.
And so definitely, and let's face it makes it easier now, right? You can just stream the thing, right?
Yeah,
You just watch it
everything.
at home. So yeah, it makes it a lot easier
Every
that
platform.
you can just go chronologically. So just be aware of that. That's
Okay.
probably weeks down the road before you get to
Yeah.
that. But real quick before we get, let's like a rehash for last week. But are you aware of it all, like the situation with Scarlett Johansson and the suit she has with Disney?
No.
Okay, so she's suing Disney, and I don't even know. I'm still learning a little bit, but the gist of it is simple. She didn't like the way it was released, her movie, because she's the A-list star, female star, and in the overall, she is the female lead character for the Marvel Cinematic Universe in terms of all those movies. She was in the very first one with Iron Man,
Right.
and the very last one. In terms of females, she is the biggest star in the Marvel Universe.
Okay.
And there won't be a whole lot of argument there because it's just numbers. And she gets her own, franchise now, the Black Widow. So she is suing Disney because Disney, has Marvel now, and she's suing them for how they released her project and the date. And so that's going to get kind of tricky because
I'm gonna look into that.
I'm going to keep close eye on it because, the understanding is that's a female thing. She's asserting that she didn't get the same attention and the same money, the dollar amount, that like a Robert Downey and some of the others that were released
That
earlier,
wasn't enough.
right?
Okay.
That where they were like the prime motion when it came to their release of their movies.
Interesting.
Basically, she wants the same shake.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that.
As she should.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put that on air. She's a big star. She's an A-list star. We can go into another time on doing like the gender equity thing, right?
Yeah.
In terms of pay.
No,
That's
sure.
a show by itself. But I'll just put on air with you. I know you're probably in agreement, but she should get the same attention, same type of release, same whatever as the male stars in the Marvel Cinematic
For
Universe.
as big as she is, especially.
Right? Because listen, if you want that market, right?
Yeah.
Treat them the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a simple thing. Okay, so let's get down to business.
Cool.
If you want, we can just kind of stay there. So movies, did you watch anything? You got anything to recommend? We can do that too. It's not just what you watched,
Yeah.
but what would you recommend to audience that you think would be good and worth an hour
I
or
kind
two?
of hit this little plateau where I feel like all of the cinemas were releasing a lot of movies at one point in time, and then I haven't seen anything else that's caught my eye.
So you haven't been?
The last
Okay.
one I watched was, I believe it's called Joe Bell. That was
In a theater?
That was the last movie I saw. It's
wow.
with Mark Wahlberg,
Okay.
regarding his son.
He releases something like once or twice every year. He's always got
It was
movies
a good
coming out.
movie, and
Okay.
it came out at an interesting time. His son goes through a lot as a gay male, and he loses his son. So he goes on a walk.
Loses, like, dies, or
The son commits suicide.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot happens. It's a very like heartfelt movie. It's pretty heavy, but it came out in an interesting
Joe
time.
Brown.
Just
When?
Yeah.
Or how long? How far back?
I probably seen it about a month ago.
Oh, so not
So
that's
nothing
recent.
super recent.
That's recent.
Yeah.
A month?
Well,
I'm
our
thinking like
last
in terms of
show-
a year. Okay.
From our last show,
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of a
not
year.
as recent, but no, yeah, this year.
Holy smokes! I'm totally unaware.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think maybe I'm not. I will say, like, for a lot of people, I'm not as in tune with releases right now in theaters,
Yeah.
because we were just tuned out from that for a while, not
Right.
by choice, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just like literally not paying attention to what's being released in theaters, other than what comes on a screen. So I'm kind of oblivious there.
I think they're starting to push more people to go back to the cinemas as
No,
well.
for
Because
sure.
even like HBO Max and all of these platforms, they cut back a little bit. Like Cruella and all these things were on the platforms, and now you can't find them.
Okay, you brought that up. So let's do
I did see it.
All right, let's do our thing, right? Okay, so you brought that up, and so I went home and I looked for it.
Yeah.
It's
not there.
It's not okay.
It's
So
not
on
there.
HBO Max, it's not released yet,
Yeah.
and I'm
But
like,
it was. So I don't know
Okay,
if it
that's-
was something like.
no, that's the hiccup I'm having, is because it was out,
Yeah.
and so I'm thinking I got like a gazillion, like Hulu, Netflix, Prime,
Yeah.
you name it, we got it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so there's no way that I can't watch it, right? And so I was thinking, okay, is it Disney? And I went to Disney because I got Disney Plus. Like, where the hell is this?
not on
It's
there.
not there. And so I went to HBO Max because I saw it like scrawled
Yeah.
that, on like an advertisement that HBO Max, has Cruella. I'm like, what the hell is it, Disney or HBO Max? So I went to HBO Max, and it said not till August 27th, I want to say, that it wouldn't be released. And all they gave was a trailer.
Yeah.
So I got kind of pissed. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. I mean, I saw it in theaters.
I know,
but-
I know.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, when you think about it, so that's kind of going back to normal, right? Where
That's why I
You're-
mean, like, they're pushing
yeah,
people to
yeah.
go back.
you're going to have to see
Yeah.
it in the theater if you want to see it, or you're going to have to wait to get it on a stream.
Yep.
So I was a little like, I was not frustrated, angry, but just like,
And it's
I
so
fully
good,
went home.
too.
I know. And I was thinking of it because, like I mentioned, my daughter's home, and that's something that I would watch with her,
Gotcha.
like Cruella, right? So
Yeah.
it's a female thing, and she's strong female, so we watch stuff like, so Dad reinforces, you're a
Right.
kick-ass female, and you're gonna watch a kick-ass female movie,
Yeah.
right? And I'm gonna watch with you
She's definitely
because I'm a
kick-ass.
dad that wants to watch you kick ass. So I had full intention to watch that damn movie.
Yep.
I'm like, what the hell? And I didn't get to watch the movie. So I will watch it. I'm not going to go watch it anywhere else. I don't even know if it is in theaters, probably, but I'll watch it on the
Probably so.
27th. So on HBO Max, if you guys have it, Cruella will be released. And I want to say it's the 27th, 26th, 27th. So I am absolutely going to watch it. You recommend it highly. And I do think I did read some reviews also
Yeah.
from last Friday. See, I learned something. And so she's, they're greenlighting a second one, I think. And matter of fact, my daughter brought this up.
Which is interesting.
Well, here's why I think. So my daughter brought up the fact that some were giving her some hell about, like, she showed up at some premiere and she didn't dress like Cruella or something like that, right? My daughter my daughter's in drama and theater,
Okay.
in college, and so she's kind of paying attention to all that stuff. She's trying to learn as much as she can about theater, movies, whatever. And I said, why? And she goes, because she doesn't want to be Cruella. She's going to make Cruella her. I'm like, oh. And she goes, Dad, the way, Nicholson changed the Joker, or Heath Ledger changed the Joker. I was like, because my daughter's really good at hitting me with stuff that I know, right, immediately, right,
Yeah.
bring it back to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, right, Heath Ledger changed the concept of the Joker, and so did Jack Nicholson his way. My point being is that actor wants to be singularly unique, not defined by a role.
Yeah.
They want to redefine the role for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so that's what she said about Cruella.
Which is good because I don't feel like I've seen a lot of Emma Stone lately.
Right.
Right? So.
Not dancing.
Good for her.
Not dancing. Not dancing. But I think that's cool. I will say this, that I think that that is more A-list female actresses that are stamping who they are, what they are, and how they're going to do their thing going forward, and not be dictated to in terms of what their expectation is from, like, the more corporate, say, studio side of what they think it should be. And so I was like, okay, yeah, why not? You know, if guys can do that, then girls can do it too.
Absolutely.
So that's what she told me about Cruella. So again, you guys, I'm recommending it. She's recommending it. We are recommending it. Cruella. I'm trying to think of anything else. Anything, so movies. Anything else on movies that you got? Joe Bell.
Yeah.
I'll probably take a look at that.
Yeah.
Oh man,
It
on-
is a heavier movie.
yeah,
but
it's probably
it's
a sit
good
down and
story.
yeah, I had no clue about it, didn't know about that. And listen, good for Mark Wahlberg for, you know, usually he's doing like action stuff or whatever, but those are pertinent, serious, current issues, you know, now. And won't go too far, you know, digress. I'm an older guy, right? I grew up in another generation, grew up on the streets, and won't go into too much detail, but, you know, for us, it was a different world in terms of alternative life or lifestyles. I have gay people in my family, like in cousins and stuff like, you know, et cetera, you know, extended family. And I never thought about them as gay, but, you know, you get homophobic if you're in the streets. And those of you guys out there that don't know that, that's a fact. It's reality. I'm not justifying it by any means, but that's what I grew up with. And then over time, you learn to like look past the external about, you know, what their sexual orientation is or what they look like, et cetera, right? Being fair, being equal. And my point being is that I've had to reframe and restructure and look at maybe, you know, maybe for you, hopefully it's easier for you because you're younger than me and maybe you're growing up in a world that is not as bad that way. But I didn't, and now I'm into the world that's not as bad that way. And I'll put it on there. Like and a guy asked me one time, I was like, what about this thing? I was like, I don't give a damn what the guy likes. If he likes women or guys, whatever, I don't give a damn. As long as he can handle his business.
Yeah.
As long as he can do his job, and as long as he's not causing me a problem, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If that's the way he's living his life and that's what makes him happy, that's in the damn Constitution. that's, you know, fundamental to our rights as Americans. So if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And I ain't got no issue with it. And I said, you shouldn't either. And they're like, well, I said, I'm SuperMex, goddammit. And you do what is right. And that's why I'm super, because I believe that everybody should have their place and position. And more importantly, I will go and support that person to have those same rights that I do. I mean, so I will absolutely watch that. I do think there's more under the surface, you know, because of trans, you know, it's not just the homophobic gay thing. But now there's, you know, transgender is, I won't say it's different, I won't get myself in trouble, but it's like an extended portion of the stereotypes and the negative beliefs about what gay people are, right? And now you take it to another degree, and they're casting that on trans people too. And I'm gonna say it again, you know, because I had one dude ask me, he goes, you're a hardcore infantry dude. What do you think about, you know, like guys like that in the military and stuff like that? And I was like, listen, if they want to fight and die for this country, what the hell's the problem? You know, if they're willing to fight and die for your rights, why are you complaining? If they're not, you know, causing me a problem and they're a damn good soldier, hey, handle your business.
Yep.
It's just equity, right? It's just equity. Okay, so let me give you a couple, and they'll be more like recommendations. They'll be quick. I know I may have said this on air once before. I sat down and I looked at like 3 or 4 movies that like dispersed different, but good. So Crazy Samurai, 400 versus 1. All right.
Okay.
You're only gonna get this like on some alt streaming stuff. I got it off a channel called Yee Ah.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy, right? It's cool as hell though. All right, so and I'll tell you, I'll make it quick. The movie is about Musashi Miyamoto. He is generally considered by most and you know in general the greatest samurai to ever live. Functionally, he was the greatest samurai swordsman ever. Okay, so the story is about Musashi, and it's supposed to be like a one take. Starts at the beginning and talking about Musashi, and it's set, you know, in Japan, and there's about, you know, everybody knows there's about to be a battle go on, and this guy's going to come and they're going to kill him. So he comes, and then the movie starts. And then when it starts, the movie, not the movie, but the sequence, the action, when he jumps in, literally jumps in, it's just him killing 400 samurais over the course of like an hour
Oh my gosh.
in one sequence. They're moving, they're
Yeah.
scrolling, people are running, people are dying, he's cutting, he's doing his thing, but it's one sequence. I'd never seen anything like that. Maybe there are others, but not like that is cool. So this is more
Yeah.
like for the dudes that I
Yeah.
got, my guys, my warriors
Okay, okay.
and my MMA guys. Crazy Samurai, 400 versus 1. If you appreciate martial arts, Budo at all, you'll like it. So it's Musashi Miyamoto, 400 versus 1. And the cool part, even if you don't know any of that, if you like appreciate movies or film, etc., it's one sequence.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's-
even if you're
it's
appealing more
crazy.
to those
It was-
guys,
I was
just
like,
the make of that
You're
is
waiting for the
interesting.
break, because like, okay. And then
Yeah.
it's my point is, you don't stop. You don't sit down or you don't get up and go to get something.
Yeah.
You're like this the whole time. I'm like, what's next? There's just something constantly.
Interesting.
There's always an attack or a sequence, moving to the attack. So it's one thing. It's totally different. I'm not saying you have to watch it, but
Yeah.
it's different.
What did you stream it off of?
It's okay. So I got it through Prime.
Oh, gotcha.
And you know how they have all these channels that they offer and you pay a little
Yeah.
bit more for that
Uh-huh.
channel? So I want to say the
One of
channel,
those little TV
the
spots.
channel is Yee-Ah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. That's the channel. That's the stream.
Makes
but
sense.
It comes through Prime, and you can, if you punch in on a little search box,
Yeah.
crazy, just put Crazy Samurai and it'll pop up. So really cool. So that's
Right.
that one is definite. You can do this too. When the time is, give me a movie that you can recommend for the audience that's just a female, like a girl night kickback thing that you just want to like no guys around. You can do that. You can do whatever the hell you want here, right? We're not corporate. We do what we want.
All right.
All right. So, but that's my point. Is like you come up with things, and we're learning on the go.
Yeah.
You recommend something that you think all women your age or younger should watch.
Cool.
Like to get something. I'm telling my guys to watch this
Yeah.
because they like action and fight scenes. I've never seen a fight scene in a real movie like this ever.
All right.
It was badass. Okay, so anyway, that's one.
Cool.
Two movies that are more like historic timepieces. The Last Vermeer, it was 2020. This last year. Guy Pearce. I don't know if you know who he is. If you saw him, you know who he is. He's he's been around a long time. He's a good actor. But it's set in the period right after World War II, and there are this artist. Basically, the gist of it is he was recreating and forging really classic art pieces that the Nazis were buying because they were stealing. That's a big deal. Like in the art world, the Nazis stole so much art from all of Europe while they controlled the majority of Europe. And there are pieces that are still missing. That, like, what about that, that one piece by so-and-so? What about that piece by Vermeer? Where's that at? No one knows because Nazis ripped off all these collections in Europe, including museums. They just took what they wanted. And, Hindenburg, Hermann Goering, these guys, these upper echelon Nazis were stealing the treasures of Europe for their own personal collections. And in some cases, we don't even know where the hell they are.
Yeah.
I know George Clooney did that movie a few years ago. It was like, what the hell was the name of it? I can't remember. But him, Bill Murray, and a couple others, they basically were like an army detachment, and they were to go find all these treasures that the Nazis had stored in an underground cave or something.
Interesting.
So it's history for me, but it's all true. It's all stuff that went on, and that's like a crime against humanity, right? One evil subgroup takes all the treasures of the world and gets to keep them for themselves. That's a crime. That's a crime against humanity. So this one's The Last Vermeer. It's well acted, great flick, really good story. Yeah, and I won't go too far, but really good story.
Sounds interesting.
And really into some nuances of the art world that a lot of people take for granted, don't even think about now because, who's thinking about art right now when you got to live and you got to eat, right? So anyway, you can't lose art entirely. So The Last Vermeer 2020 with Guy Pearce for you guys. And another one that's not, too close, but similar. It's about, you might like this one. It's called A Call to Spy. It's about women in World War II also that were rejected by the United States government in particular. They wanted to serve, and we're talking about some very skilled and elite women, but they couldn't spy and operate as operatives for the United States government because they didn't, the gist of it is that the United States and their command did not believe that women could do that. at the same level as male spies and operatives. So one of the females from the United States, she actually went to the UK, Britain, where there was a gal who, she wasn't at the top. She was part Jewish, and so she did it a different way to get to a position where a guy who was in charge, a commander, he let her like kind of do her thing. I don't know what you're doing, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Because if it helps us win this damn war, then I don't care what they think, meaning command or government, right?
What's that one called?
It's called A Call to Spy. And the actress was Stana Katic. She used to be in Castle, the TV show.
Okay.
She's cute. I can't remember what her ethnicity is, but she was in Castle, the TV series.
Okay.
And so she's in that. And the others are not A-list actresses, but it was a damn well written, well directed movie, and just a really good look on the female end, like what the United States government wasn't allowing for females to do. They wanted to do the job, like I said earlier, right? They want to spy and help this country, help win that war. Let them. If they bring value and they can do their thing,
absolutely.
Why are you stopping them from being able to? So it's called A Call to Spy. I would say, I'm not a female, so I don't know, but I would imagine it would be a good story to tell younger women that you can do just as well. And this is the way it was back then, but we're not like that anymore, right? Try to show some growth. We're not prejudiced against female capabilities anymore, at least not in that way. We've got issue with what women don't get. That's a fact. But there have been some advances, and this is one of them. And so this was set in World War II. It's called A Call to Spy, also released last year. Nice. But I watched it recently, and this was also through Prime. Both of those were through Prime. Okay, and so the last one for me, I just, In Search of Mozart, that was a Prime thing. It's a really good, I'm being a little egg-headed here for my former students and my history students. It's called In Search of Mozart. It's a real basic nuts and bolts documentary on Mozart, but with really, really updated and more clarifying information on his life, not just his music, but how he lived, how he structured everything from birth to death. It talks about everything, what his family was like, what his father was like, and then right up to his final days. It's a really good encapsulated piece on Mozart. And you may not know it, but I'm a little bit of a classical goon. Cool. In that way. I'm well grounded and knowledgeable on classical artists going back to Palestrina in the 1400s. So know all of that. And this one's real easy, simple. It's not too long. It's a little over an hour. Really educational, really great information. You'll learn.
It's a documentary?
It's kind of a documentary. Documentaries ain't the same anymore. Yeah. Documentaries are so much better than when I used to teach, where you turn it on and kids are like, they're way better now. They're way better. Way more informative.
And engaging.
Exactly. Yeah, best word there. Way more engaging than anything that I used to have before. This one was good. And I'm a little goon when it comes to like educational stuff, nuts and bolts material. But everything I saw about it, again, well informed, really well sequenced. Really good flow from beginning to end, covers everything you could want to know about Mozart, without actually like getting the books and stacking them and knowing every detail. This if you had to teach you have to teach an alien that came from another planet about Mozart, this would be what you want to show them. Anyway, so those are my movies. Any other movies for you?
I don't think so.
All good?
Yeah.
Any recommendations from last year?
Last year.
Because you didn't get to, some of us weren't, but here's the thing, these were 2020, 2 of these were 2020, and I'm catching up on them because there were a lot of movies still released, but they just weren't released in the same way.
Yeah,
there were people still releasing.
Paid a lot of attention more to like catching up on shows. Shows were a big thing, binge
TV?
watching. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I did more TV than movies.
Okay.
I would say.
All right, well let's jump to TV then. So movies are good. You guys got plenty of recommendations. We're giving you good stuff, and I think we'll at least keep that for sure as we go forward. Let's make sure we make note to not just tell them about what we've seen recently, but there's going to be stuff that just pops up. Maybe you watch a movie like that was released last year, but you haven't gotten to see it. So let's give them the recommendations. That way, they're not wasting time. I mean, because here's the other thing: you can find a real gem that you may never have seen or known unless someone brought it to your attention, right? And I will say, I'm watching way too much movies and TV lately, but we might as well make it, worthwhile and informative for our audience. Okay, TV. Yeah. Anything in terms of, are you locked in on anything like a series that you watch?
American Horror Story.
Oh yeah, okay. What season?
Not too much of a series, but now they did something different this time.
What isn't it like 3 seasons already or something like that?
Oh no, there's so many more.
Are.
There's about
I've not watched
eight,
them all. I think I
nine.
started when they first came out, but then it was like,
Well,
and
the
then I
first
watched.
three, in my opinion, are the best.
Okay.
You have like the couple that lived in the home.
Yeah.
You have the asylum, and then with the witches, Coven. So they did something different this time around with the new seasons. It's a double feature. So you have two different worlds coming together. And trailer kind of
Worlds.
features.
How?
Well, trailer kind of features alien life and some kind of
Okay.
water creature.
What?
It's interesting.
Okay.
But they've never done two seasons the same. So to have a double feature like that is something interesting. And that's the title of it. It's called Double Feature.
I have not like dug deep into everybody. I got a lot of friends that watch it religiously. They watch American Horror Story.
Yeah.
There's a couple other series that are more horror genre, and they recommend. And I don't know what it is, but I guess since I was a kid and young, maybe in my 20s, I just haven't. We kind of mentioned this last week, right, with the some of the movies. We talked about last week, The Conjuring, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So I did save those. So I'm probably just going to run through all of them. Probably this weekend, as a matter of fact. I'll probably watch them. Taking your recommendation. And I just don't watch as much horror.
Yeah.
I just don't find it scary. And don't take that the wrong way, okay?
No, yeah.
Because there's plenty of ways. I know growing up that the stuff that scared me wasn't a knife and some bloody guts, right? That is nothing.
More
That's nothing.
suspense. Like,
Okay, but when it comes to like religious stuff, like scary, that scares the hell out of me.
So you didn't grow up watching Tales of the Crypt Keeper?
Oh yeah, I did, because that was more funny.
Yeah.
That was cheesy, campy stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I did watch that. But the stuff that scared me to the bones, scared me to my core, was stuff that was religious,
Okay.
or that could be supernatural, believable, because you have to, consciously think that this is a possibility, that there are, because I'm thinking about this because what you just said in terms of the terming alternate worlds, alternate realities. I do believe that. I believe there are constructs that we don't understand or don't know. I won't go too scientific geek on you, but the concept of dark matter in the universe is still largely untouched, untapped, and unknown, and that scares the hell out of me, in a good way. But those things where you have to like intellectually, psychologically consider something that you cannot know or understand, that scares the hell out of me. Not knowing something. I know it's going to sound ugly, but not knowing something scares me.
Okay.
Knowing that a guy can gut me or slice my throat, hey, go do what you got to do, homeboy.
Yeah.
But not knowing about things that are unknowable or that you can't construct psychologically or intellectually.
That's scary.
That's scary. That's what scared me. So the religion thing scares the hell out of me. You tell me about like an entity or another force that you can call a demon or something else, but it is, something tangible, believable, and that scares the hell out of me.
Okay.
So religion. So I have not watched a lot because I did feel at some point that it was all formulaic. It was all kind of the same stuff, and it was just about how gory or how ugly. It's maybe a little bit before, but once it got into, I want to say the late 90s into the zeros, and it started getting to these other types of scary stuff where it was about alternate realities or alternate possibilities, then that started, okay, now those are good. Yeah, I think I mentioned like Paranormal Activity. I did go back and watch that.
I feel like they're so staged.
Well, those are.
Yeah.
But the concept of it scares the hell out of me.
I just can't, I'm more in the movie.
Right.
So I couldn't get through.
All right, so Conjuring, what would be the difference? What do you see the Conjuring as? What's the value in that?
I mean, I do think.
Or better yet, what would scare me?
I mean, there is some truth in that supernatural stuff, I feel.
So that's scary to me.
Maybe you'll connect with that a little bit more. Just kind of going through that process of meeting different families and different individuals, and they find a lot of artifacts from the past, like that were from a lot of witchcraft and things like that. So the last movie touches base on that a lot. So maybe you'll find more interest in that. Maybe you'll be scared.
It's here's an example. Not the time to do this because it'd be a show by itself and a whole bunch of others. Like the zombie phenomena, right? the concept of zombies, World War Z, going back to the early 2000s and the creation of a lot of these, what we have now, The Walking Dead. I had never watched The Walking Dead like initially, the first season, but then I did eventually because I had a lot of recommendations and like it's not just that, it's really good drama. And so I did, and so I'm caught up, and The Walking Dead's going to end pretty soon. But that's a zombie thing. Yeah, that doesn't scare me at all, at all. There's no fear because I just kill them little bastards. I just kill them, right? So there's no fear in that, even though it is supernatural in the sense that people that are dead are now alive, right? So I get that, but my point is back to what you were saying earlier. It's just like staged. Yeah. It's the same old stuff.
Yeah.
So that doesn't scare me.
American Horror is definitely staged. It's produced like that, but I think you start to gain a little bit of a connection to the recurring actors, and I think it's interesting to see what the new season is going to be like because everything is always different. No one season is the same.
Okay. Is it like anthology in the sense that you have, so the actors aren't the same all the time?
For the most part. So you have those A-list actors that are like Sarah Paulson. She's a big one.
Oh, I like Sarah Paulson.
So she's
badass.
In every season.
She is?
She's in every season.
That's why I know her. She's badass.
But
she's a damn good actress.
Stevie Nicks was in a season.
Really?
She was in Coven. Like,
what the hell?
They'll have these
As
little
a witch?
yeah, she was in there.
Oh, hell yeah. I'll watch that.
See, so there's like little features that they'll throw in here and there and some new actors and things like that. But for the most part, the group is the same. But every season is a different setting. Different time period, different everything.
I will say this. I will watch
the first 3.
Okay, I will. I think I started.
First
and I just
3
didn't.
are really good.
Okay, I'll watch anything that Sarah Paulson's in. You put me on record.
Oh,
she's a badass
actress.
actress.
There was another show that came out last year with Sarah Paulson in it.
She's all over the place.
Gosh, what is it called? Ratched?
Nurse Ratched.
Ratched.
Yeah, she's supposed to be like from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That one was
She's
good.
Nurse Ratched. Yes. I didn't watch that, so I'm slicing my own throat here.
That one's good.
Horror reference.
Yeah,
See
I
that?
like Sarah Paulson.
See, like the horror reference? I'm slicing my own throat. Pun intended. But yeah, I know that came out.
Yeah,
and
that was amazing.
I'm saying that I'll watch anything with Sarah Paulson. Doesn't mean I've watched everything, but she's phenomenal. She's a great actress. Mm-hmm. I think she's underrated as an actress personally. She's badass.
But she plays that character and that role so well.
I'll tell you
which is why she was so good in
whatever
Ratched
she's in, she does well. I'm serious.
I went and I looked for in Ratched. It's shot somewhere near Monterey or that area, Big Sur. And you can go to that little hotel that she stayed in. And that restaurant that overlooks the ocean, it's an actual restaurant.
Maybe I'm going to do that too.
So watch the show and then go visit.
I will, but I'll definitely watch. Like I said, if Sarah Paulson. I mean, it's you don't have to twist my arm very much to get something to watch her because she's a phenomenal actress. Mm-hmm. Everything she does well, really, really well. Okay, so other TV for you.
I've kind of been browsing. There's a lot of new stuff coming out, like Netflix.
What do you have
Disney
access
Plus.
to? That'll help. What do you have access to?
I have Disney Plus, HBO Max, Netflix. I think that's it.
No Hulu?
I had it at one point in time because I was crazy about The Bachelor and Bachelorette. So I didn't have cable at the time, but they would release the episodes the day after.
Yeah.
So if it came on a Wednesday, I'd watch it every Thursday, and Hulu had it streamed, I think.
So I'll
if I'm not mistaken.
Full admission. I used to watch the hell out of The Bachelor and The Bachelor.
Well, Bachelor in Paradise just started.
I know. I'm kind of done.
I fell off. Like when COVID
it's too
kind
much
of came
now.
around.
It's too much.
Yeah.
There's like, okay, Bachelor, Bachelorette, and then Bachelor in Paradise.
The host, he's gone. What's his name?
Chris, whatever the hell he was.
So two of the girls were hosting, sort of, the latest season of The Bachelorette.
So they don't have a dedicated host?
No. So I don't even know what Bachelor in Paradise looks like. I didn't watch, I believe the first episode just aired. I seen, it on social media and things like that, but no host.
Huh. Well, I kind of fell off before that guy Chris moved on.
Me too.
But, and it was like, because there were so many seasons. There were a lot of seasons already of Bachelor, Bachelorette, and there was a lot.
But it was exciting watching Bachelor and Bachelorette and then seeing all these people come together in Bachelor in Paradise. That's what did it for me. I wanted to see who they chose, what was going to be exciting for the season, why they chose them.
Look, I'll admit, full disclosure, you know what you're getting, right? The whole point is they get all these people
course.
together and they just rip each other apart.
Of course.
I get it.
They
I
choose
get it.
the ones that are filled with the most
Yeah,
drama, the
yeah.
jokesters.
And
the
then you sit there like
clowns.
finding yourself like, oh, I want her, and you're literally doing the
And
sheep
then your
thing.
mind changes.
Yeah, you're doing the sheep thing, going along for the ride. And I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, man. But there was a point where like, you know what it was? I got to where they had the dude Juan Pablo. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then I thought he was funny. Okay, I thought he was funny. Okay, so he wasn't. He's Hispanic, but he's not Mexican, right?
Yeah.
And so we won't go too far into this, but let's just put it on record. Not all Mexicans, not all Hispanics are constructed the same way.
Yeah.
Just not.
Yeah.
All right, we're not a monolith or monolithic people. We're all kinds of things. All disparities and varieties of the American fabric. Let's just keep it within these bounds, right? But I like the dude. I thought he was funny as hell. And listen, the dude was a good-looking dude. Yeah. He was a good-looking dude. But he was a good-looking dude with light skin, light hair, etc. Right? So he was acceptable. More. Let's put that on the table. He was more acceptable, and I thought he was funny. But it came off, and he caught the hell afterward, and then everybody just piled on that he was a chauvinist because he was Hispanic. Mm-hmm. That's why he was a chauvinist. Mm-hmm. And I kind of had a bad taste in my mouth. Maybe he said some stuff and did something. I'm not going to justify or while that away or make excuses for that. But because he is or was or what you want to construct out of, the image of him, you don't have to be Hispanic to be a chauvinist. Mm-hmm. You can be a white guy, black guy, green guy, orange guy. It doesn't matter. You can be chauvinist. And for the record, a lot of those bachelors were. Yeah. I don't know now because I don't watch as much. But there were a lot of bachelors that were clearly, chauvinistic in who they were as guys in relation to all these girls that I get to pick from. The very nature of it, right? So I kind of had a sour taste in my mouth after that whole Juan Pablo thing, and then I just didn't watch as much anymore. Then I thought I would, I'd watch the girls, and then I was like,
I kind of got over it.
Yeah, I got over it because they weren't picking the girls that I wanted.
Right?
Yeah, they weren't picking the girls that I wanted to be the new girl.
Exactly.
I don't know. I maybe it's just me, but you're kind of saying the same.
I do the same thing, and now I just follow them. I follow all the couples on social media.
You do?
Of the people that I like, yeah.
All right, I'll quiz you.
Oh,
who was the first one that actually got married to one of the guys and stayed with him?
Oh my gosh, I don't even think I started watching The Bachelor or Bachelorette.
I got you. Look, this is bad because I'm
probably only started watching about like 4 years ago.
I got you.
And it's been out forever.
I got you beat. And this is bad, right? People are gonna you watch The Bachelorette? Hell yeah, I watched The Bachelorette. You got a problem with it? All right, so Tristen. She was the Bachelorette. I think she was either the second season because they did the Bachelor and the Bachelorette, but I think she was the first Bachelorette. Correct me if I'm wrong, SuperMex Nation, get on me. But she picked Ryan, the firefighter, over the guy who was clearly smoother. All the guys are good looking, right? They're all good looking dudes.
Was this on the show or was this after?
Yeah, no, it was on the show.
All right.
She was down to the final 3. It was Ryan, and I can't remember the other guy's name, Charlie maybe. But the other guy was real smooth, good-looking dude too, a little more refined, probably wealthier. Ryan was just a good-looking, nice guy, firefighter. And it did shock me because she picked him. And they're still married. They had kids, and it's like 20 years.
Couple kids, no?
Yeah, more than a few, I think. Yeah. So she's still with him. They come out once in a while when they do like reunions or stuff like that. Yeah. And they show. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Because it was the female that was the first one to actually match with someone and stay with them. Mm-hmm. Because they're not a great track record of bachelors and bachelorettes staying with the person they pick because it's all staged.
And it even got to the point to where they're like going through the show and they know what they're signing up for and they know everyone's expecting a proposal and a wedding and this engagement, and then some of them are like, we're okay leaving just being a boyfriend and girlfriend and we're not going to put a ring on. I'm like, that's the point of the show. Come on,
that's why
waiting.
People are watching. But listen, producers and the others, once they get the meat hooks onto them, they're just, all they give a damn about is making sure people are tuning in. Yeah. So if they got to tell you or get you to believe.
And they get me to the end, all right.
I mean, listen, and I was never there. I was married early and I never even considered that. But I understand the construct of them wanting to get viewers to believe that this could be, something that you can hope for. You can find your Prince Charming, right? If you're a lady.
And they've done a couple of shows like that
too. And they have. So I get that part, but Yeah, I kind of got over it. I'm not embarrassed to admit that I watched it
Yeah.
because that was like
It was good.
a lot of the Bachelorette was like at the beginning of this whole paradigm of reality television.
Hmm.
It was, I want to say late '90s into the zeros,
Yeah.
where reality television was this new thing. And I watched the hell out of Survivor. I don't watch that anymore,
Hmm.
but I watched the hell out of
That's
Survivor.
still on too, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I actually tried to get on the show.
Oh no
I
way.
actually submitted stuff. I did that. I tried to get on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I went through all the things. I answered all the questions. I took the tests on the phone, got everything. And then at the end, I found out that they had to choose you. Once you jumped through all the hoops, like on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you had to answer questions. You had to know things. You had to do it on a phone, like on a timer. They would ask questions, and you had to
You
choose
did
right.
good?
I did all of
They
that.
give you feedback?
No, there was no feedback. It was just you were
Gotcha.
correct or you're not. You
Okay.
moved to the next step.
Gotcha.
So I did all of that, did everything, and then at the end of it, they told me that okay, you have met all requirements. You will be put into a pool and chosen. If somebody will be chosen, and I never got chosen.
Still be chosen?
I know it's too late now. That was like 15 years, 20 years ago. But I never got chosen, so I got kind of like the hell with that. Why did I do all that damn work if you're just gonna choose who you want anyway? What the hell, right? I wasn't gonna do that.
Bachelor and Bachelorette has a lot more spots.
Yeah, I ain't trying. You could do that, not me. I ain't trying to do that. But and then like Survivor, I did. I called in. I met requirements, did everything they asked, and never got a call. Like I guess, but I am a little jaded, and I do think I don't want to say it's racial, but let's go back 20 years. And weren't a whole lot of Mexican males, blatantly brown like me, getting on these shows. It wasn't. There was definitely a push to have more African Americans, black folk that are on these shows, but not a lot of Mexicans. And there are more now, but maybe I was just out of time, right? I was at a wrong time. So anyway, didn't watch it. Okay, let's move along. How are we doing on time, George?
6:18.
6:18? No, I mean, but total. We under an hour? Where's Oh, cool. Okay, good. My bad. I didn't see that. Okay, so TV. I'll do real quick. You're gonna laugh. I watched Making the Cut with Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn. It's also on Prime. Basically, it is
I've heard
about
of that.
it's about designers, and it's her show. She spun it off from another.
Okay.
It's this where you get all the designers together. It's like reality
Designers for.
clothing and apparel.
I feel like I've seen that.
You probably have. It's easy to get. There's 2 seasons. She created this separate one with Tim Gunn. They came from what the hell was there was another show that she did with it was her Heidi Klum, Isaac Mizrahi, the designer.
Okay.
So they had a show and it went on for like 4 or 5 seasons. The names escape me right now. But she spun off and did this one, Making the Cut, with Tim Gunn. He's an old school guru in design and fashion world for a long time. I like the guy. I think he's badass. Just the nicest dude in the world. Really constructive. So Heidi Klum, Tim Gunn, basically they get I really liked this. The second season because they didn't do a season last year. It started in 19.
Okay.
So they didn't do a season during COVID.
Interesting.
They did a season now, and I just finished watching it.
Okay.
I didn't get what I wanted, in terms of the winner, but so it's they pull designers from all over the world.
I feel like I've seen it. Is the showroom or the room that they work in pretty modernized? There's a big fabric room. No. There's another show that's similar to that.
That's what she used to be on.
Okay. I think that's the show.
The name's
I've seen.
escaping me. I'm going to get kind of aggravated because I'm not remembering it right offhand. But I just finished that. It's and so I'm telling you guys out there. So I watch for fashion. Now I'm not a fashion guy. I wear what I like. Period. I just wear what I like. It isn't about the name or the tag or who's cool. I just wear what I like. So I do like that because and full disclosure on my end, to me, clothing is an expression of art when done well. It's not just functional for me. It isn't just and don't get me wrong, I can throw some shorts on and a t-shirt and be like anybody else. But I do believe at the top end, and this is why there's a guy's named Jeremy, I can't remember his last name, but he is the designer, the in-house creative designer for Moschino.
Okay.
That's a fashion house and it's newer, not like some of the older ones. But I like Moschino because they are more progressive in a good way. They're more creative. They're more artistic as a fashion house.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the different people that they have
Right.
on the show and what
Right.
they bring to the table.
So their interest in the guy Jeremy, he was on this season as one of the judges
Okay.
with Heidi Klum,
Gotcha.
and then a model, current, really
Okay.
really kick-ass model, and they were the judging panel. But this guy, from Machino, Jeremy, he's an artist. I'll leave it there. He's an artist. Just because he's not working with oils and clay or even video design doesn't mean he's not an artist. His canvas is the individual, the person, and his material is clothing. And so that is a big deal for me because it is an expression of the creative, right? And so that's why I watch the show. And like, you watch women's stuff, hell yeah, I watch that.
Yeah.
If that's women's stuff, then call me what you want. Do whatever you gotta do. It ain't gonna stop me because my ego's big enough to be comfortable with people calling me names. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna do what I want to do. But I really love that show. So it's making the cut. Heidi Klum, Tim Gunn. If for no other reason, you get to see things that are not current that you will see in the next few years in fashion.
Absolutely.
That people are creating now.
Because other countries too, even are, I would say, much more ahead in some of those things too.
They don't have as much fear or trepidation about moving forward creative.
Yeah.
While and in some cases, not
Here
all.
it has to become a norm or
I don't want
fast
to.
fashion.
Yeah, I don't want to stereotype the United States that way, but we aren't as creative or fashion forward in a lot of things. Outside of say New York or LA, right? But in general, we're more functional. That's nothing wrong, but you do have to have both sides of that coin, the form and the function. But you also have to have this creative end too that moves form and function to something much bigger, larger. Otherwise, we'd all be wearing like furs, right? Because we just came out of the cave.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that? Not me. So making the cut,
Okay.
season 2 just out. I've got Domina. It's on Epix. It is a European, and I watch a lot more Euro stuff now when it comes to period pieces. So it's a European cast and directed series on Livia Drusilla. She was the third wife of Octavian, Augustus Caesar, the first emperor of Rome after Julius Caesar. He was the relative that was watched Julius Caesar get stabbed, and Octavian ends up marrying Livia Drusilla because she is of the Drusi, one of the 5 original Roman noble families, going back to the founding of Rome. And so her family is like really renowned and powerful, going back hundreds of years. And so he marries her because his personal, aside from Julius Caesar, but his personal background, his father was not anything. He was like, I think a moneylender, a stonecutter or something, right? He didn't have the name. So he married her out of political convenience because it gave him greater credibility with the patrician class in Rome, the nobles. And so it's a really good take because she is a beast. ESSSS. She's a badass. She's a killer. She's savage. She makes decisions politically that just end up killing people or removing people. They just disappeared, including like one of her nephews. Got rid of him because she wanted her son. And one of her sons ends up being the next emperor, Tiberius. Tiberius and her other son, Drusus, were like in line, but there were others in line that Augustus Caesar wanted because he perceived them as being better for Rome, and she removed them. She just removed them. She had them poisoned or killed. Anyway, it's a really good look. I like this actress. She's pretty. Okay. She's smart. She's like something. So the series is called Domina. It's also really good factually, historically. I won't recommend anything that isn't reasonably factual. There's some creative license, right, with artists, directors, the visual art. I can bite down on that. But it better be at its core factual. I'm not watching garbage that isn't true. All right? I do not do that. And my mind immediately will filter through and watch, and I'm like, no, this is done. We're not watching this because it's not true and it's too much garbage. But it's Domina. Really like the actress. It's a female-centered perspective. It's not about Augustus Caesar. It's about Livia Drusilla and how she manipulated him. Yeah. And she made him do things and took out, his nephew. Yeah. So she is ruthless, man. But that is who she is. And if you read enough about Rome, like source material, first source material, she was ruthless, and she killed probably more people than he did. Politically, she just removed people. So it's Domina, and that's on Epix. And then the last one, going back to kind of last week, What If, I think I may have said something about it last year. It's also, you can get it through Disney. It's a Marvel. So it's an animated series. It's only on its second. They did one last week, and it's going to come out every week. It's not just released all at once.
Gotcha.
So it's What If, and I used to collect the comics when this series came out a long, long time ago. Don't ask me what time. Don't ask me my age. But so it's What If. That's the name of the comic book, and in essence, it is a what if Captain America weren't Captain America, and it was instead Captain, the female that ends up being like the British version of Captain America.
Okay. Do you think these are things that maybe they had ideas for the movie?
No, absolutely.
And like they were the outtakes,
well, not the movies,
Well, but like
yeah,
the
because
comics,
the
I
comic,
guess. Yeah.
the comic is like 70s and 80s.
So
Goes back a
these
long
could
time.
be like the outtake things that
Oh
they're
yeah,
kind of
no, absolutely. It's
That's
just a different
interesting.
look. So
Cool.
that was the first one. It's the second one came out yesterday.
Okay.
And the second one is T'Challa, the Black Panther.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's what if T'Challa weren't the Black Panther? What if T'Challa were Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Okay.
Okay, so I'll give you this little bit because we got to hurry here.
That's fun.
But okay, so Star-Lord, Peter Quill, who is the guy in Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
The big tall guy from The Office. I always forget his name. The big tall guy. Okay, so he's Star-Lord in the Marvel Universe. Well, what if it weren't him? What if it were T'Challa? Like, how does that work? He's the Black Panther. So this is how they screwed it up. The what if. That supposedly, when they came to get Peter Quill, who would eventually be the Star-Lord, and they took him away and he becomes Star-Lord, and that's how you get the Guardians of the Galaxy. Instead of coming to get Peter Quill, the crew, the kind of dunderhead guys, made a mistake, and they got the wrong guy, and they picked up this kid instead, and it was T'Challa. So they take T'Challa, and he becomes Star-Lord.
Is it animated?
Just that simple. It's animated, yeah.
That's
so
fun.
some people may not, and I'm just going to say, don't let the animation get in the way of good story.
No, yeah.
Right?
That's
Meaning, for
interesting,
people
though.
that don't like animated because they look at animated as like cartoons,
Nah.
it's not just cartoon, it's content and it's story.
Yeah.
So what if T'Challa was Star-Lord? So I'm not telling you to, you can't
No,
if
that's
you want,
interesting.
but
I
it
think
is on
it's
Disney,
cool.
and you do
Cool.
have access to Disney. They're like 40
Right.
minutes,
Movie night.
and it's a what if thing.
Cool.
And there's only 2 so far, so they're going to release one
What
every.
if?
But I'm saying that because I got a lot of guys
I like that.
that watch my stuff, that check me out because they know I know a lot about comics, and my guys watch comics and they're into games and stuff. So that's it. So we're on What If number 2. The next one will come out next week. And listen, and you could educate me, and we'll wrap up here because we're not going to get to music. But
Yeah.
you educate me on music and other things that I don't know. I'll educate you on some old dog stuff
Yeah.
from like What If, right?
Cool.
But again, it's not. I want to get past that thing where, we get pigeonholed or stereotyped into I'm a guy, therefore I must like comics when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, true, I do. True, I do.
But-
However, that doesn't preclude a good story from getting to a female, right? And vice versa. So if you're telling me about Joe Bell from Mark Wahlberg and how he had a gay son and the guy ends up committing suicide, I want to know about that.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have a female perspective and you're watching a movie that is traditionally like for females. I want to know that too. I'm a full believer that to know is more important than not to know. I'd rather know than not know.
Yeah.
It may be not that I like that, but I want to know about it, and I want to understand it.
And so do they.
That's my world. I'll stop here, but my world with my guys, you guys that are mine, SuperMex Nation, SuperMex guys, we aren't afraid to I don't want to say show female side, right? But to understand, or at least as much as we can, understand female perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. That makes you a stronger man. That makes you a more badass guy, I think. My belief anyway. Anything before we go? Anything in the last thought?
No.
We're going to the weekend.
Wonderful. I know.
We're going to the weekend. We got. Watch, I'm gonna do that. I haven't done this to you before because we only do two shows. You got 1 minute. Anything you want to say before we go off into the weekend?
No, I'm excited to kind of take on these little things. I'm really
Chores.
interested in What If. Yeah, What If caught my attention. I'm going to figure out what that show is that Heidi Klum was a part of before.
It's
gotta
on the
get the
tip of my
name.
tongue.
I know
It's
I've
on-
seen it.
Well, I tell you what, we'll bring it up next week. But definitely. So again, for me, it's a little clarity into. I'm much more nuanced than most people get.
Yeah.
Initially off of the outside of the book covering, right? But I like knowing, and I like art. I like the creative side to people,
Yeah.
female or male. I don't give a damn. But I like people expressing who they are. And it may not be what I like, but I want to know about it because that's how you understand and you gain understanding. Yeah. And then you're less likely to do things, say things, or be things that are antithetical to this country and being fair to everybody. And I think we'll stop there. Anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. We'll be back next week. The cheap date night with SuperMex and Trist. You guys have a great weekend. I'm going to do what I used to do. We're going out for the weekend. Be careful, be safe. It's not always you that might be the problem on the road or in a situation. It might be the other. So be mindful of the people around you and be careful. Wear your mask. SuperMex is out.